Have you ever wondered why the Quran would name an entire chapter At-Tariq?
Subscribe to my channel.
A strange name for something that is millions of miles away. But what if I told you the meaning of this word becomes much more interesting when you understand what happens in the darkness of space? Before I tell you, I want you to imagine something. It is more than 1400 years ago. You are standing alone in the middle of the Arabian desert. No electricity, no streetlights, no phones, no city lights. Nothing except darkness and the enormous night sky above you. Everyone is asleep. The desert is completely silent, and then, suddenly, knock. You freeze, you look toward the darkness, nothing. Then you hear it again. Knock, knock. Someone is there. Someone has arrived in the middle of the night. And in classical Arabic, a person who comes at night can be described as Tariq. Now keep that image in your mind. Because the Quran opens its 86th chapter with these words, by the heaven and At-Tariq. Then Allah asks, and what will make you know what At-Tariq is? And then comes the answer, the piercing star. Think about that. Allah introduces a mysterious name, then asks a question, what is At-Tariq? And then reveals the piercing star. The Arabic word is At-Tariq, and its root is ta-ra, kaf. This root is associated in Arabic with striking, hitting, or knocking. That is why the word can carry the idea of a night visitor, someone arriving at night. So the Quran creates this extraordinary picture. The night, a visitor, a knock, and then a star. But why? Why describe a star this way? What is so special about this star? And this is where the story becomes fascinating, because modern astronomy discovered something they had never seen before. Something that appeared to be sending extremely regular pulses through space. Its name? Pulsar. Now listen carefully, because the discovery of pulsars is one of the most fascinating stories in modern astronomy. In 1967, a young PhD student named Jocelyn Bell Burnell was working at Cambridge University. She was studying radio signals from space. Her telescope was producing huge amounts of data, and she had to examine enormous lengths of chart recordings. Then, she noticed something strange, a signal, extremely regular, extremely fast, and repeating. It wasn't behaving like the ordinary signals they expected. The pulses were so precise that the researchers initially wondered whether the signal could possibly be artificial. Imagine that, a signal coming from space, again and again and again, so regular that they jokingly called it LGM, Little Green Men. Because at first, they wondered, could this be an intelligent signal? But eventually, science discovered the explanation. It wasn't aliens. It was something far more extraordinary, a neutron star. A neutron star can be formed when a massive star reaches the end of its life and collapses. Its matter becomes compressed to an incredible density, and some neutron stars rotate incredibly fast. These rapidly rotating neutron stars can become pulsars. And this is where it gets fascinating. NASA describes pulsars as lighthouses of the universe. Why? Because they produce beams of radiation. And as the neutron star rotates, those beams sweep through space, like the beam of a lighthouse. Imagine standing beside a lighthouse. The light turns, and for a moment, the beam points directly toward you. Then it disappears, and then it comes back, again and again and again. A pulsar works in a similar way. Its radiation beam sweeps through space, and when that beam crosses our line of sight, we detect a pulse. One pulse, then another and another pulse. pause, pulse, pause, pulse, almost like a cosmic rhythm. And some pulsars rotate hundreds of times every second. Hundreds of times every second. Now, here is the part that makes this discussion so interesting. Go back to the Quran, more than 1400 years ago, before radio telescopes, before modern astrophysics, before anyone knew about neutron stars. The Quran says, by the heaven and At-Tariq. Then, and what will make you know what At-Tariq is? And then, the piercing star, a night-related word connected with striking or knocking, followed immediately by the description, the piercing star. And today, we know of stars so extreme that they can rotate hundreds of times per second while producing beams of radiation that reach us as regular pulses. That is fascinating. But now, let's be intellectually honest. Does the Quran literally say, this is a pulsar? No, it doesn't. Does the Arabic word At-Tariq literally mean pulsar? No. And if someone tells you that, they are going beyond the actual Quranic wording. The Quran gives us At-Tariq and explains it as An-Najm Ath-Thaqib, the piercing star. So we should not turn an interesting correspondence into a scientific equation that the Quran itself never states. But then, what are we actually looking at? We are looking at a Quranic description that has existed for more than 14 centuries and comparing it with something modern astronomy only discovered in the 20th century. The first pulsar was detected in 1967, and the object was not immediately understood. The signals were so strange, so regular, that they initially caused scientists to wonder what they were. Later observations established that pulsars were rapidly rotating neutron stars. And this is important because the scientific story itself is remarkable. Observation, question, investigation, evidence, conclusion. Now listen to something else. Some pulsar signals have been converted into audio so that humans can hear their repeating patterns. And when you hear it, you can understand why people describe the signal as rhythmic, regular, almost like cosmic ticking, or a repeating knock. Listen, knock, knock, knock. But remember, this is not sound, literally traveling through empty space. Space is largely a vacuum, and ordinary sound does not travel through it, the way sound travels through air. What you are hearing is scientific data converted into an audible signal, and that distinction matters.